Guys, so today we are working on ancient Greece. So a lot of really cool things came out of ancient Greece. We have a lot of educators from back then, like Plato, Aristotle, but we also have some really cool like sculptures and just art, theoretical ideas that kind of came out of our Grecian era. But before we could go into of the more of that kind of stuff, excuse me, we need to learn about the Grecian background. And so today we are going to read about the Minoan and the Mycenean civilizations of ancient Greece, which is kind of where it all started. So go ahead and grab your highlighter and let's get started. Two ancient civilizations that developed during the Bronze Age of ancient Greece were the Minoan civilization from 2700 to 1450 BC on the island of Crete and the Mycenean civilization 1600 to 1100 BC, which spread from Central Asia to the Balkan Peninsula. Okay, let's go ahead and pause here and underline any important information that we want to highlight here. So first of all, I think we should highlight the Bronze Age because in the Khan Academy video that we're going to be watching tomorrow, we're going to kind of go over the different ages. So the timeline that is presented kind of groups civilizations into eras. So this particular era is the Bronze Age. And then we learn about when the Minoan civilization took place and that it was off the island of Crete. And then the Mycenean civilization, so let's go ahead and underline Mycenean civilization, which was 1600 to 1100 BC. And that spread from Central Asia to the Balkan Peninsula. So we'll do a little bit of map information next week to help you visualize where these are at. The Minoans are considered by historians to be the first advanced civilization in Europe. The people were traders in timber, olive oil, wine, and dye. They imported copper, tin, ivory, and precious gemstones. They had a large navy and dominated the sea. They built huge palaces like labyrinths that housed much of the population and became the seat of government. The Minoan civilization suffered a catastrophe in about 1400 BC, and all the palaces and villas were suddenly destroyed. They had already lost their prominence as a great power by the time the Mycenaean civilization arrived to take over. Okay, so let's see. It's the Minoans, okay, are considered to be the first advanced civilization in Europe. And here's what we mean by advanced, because they traded timber, olive oil, wine, dye. They imported copper. I mean, this was an advanced idea to actually trade these things for money, and then they used these things to create palaces and the government that they had, which again was advanced, because most civilizations wouldn't think, hey, let's have a great society where everybody contributes to it. It wasn't like that. Okay, so they traded timber, olive oil, wine, and dye. They imported copper, tin, ivory, and precious gemstones. They had a large navy. That is super important for wars, because that happened a lot, trying to gain more access to land. And they built palaces like labyrinths. I think that's important. That housed much of the population and became the seat of government. So it says that they suffered a catastrophe in 1400 BC where everything was destroyed. Now, I want to know, what is that catastrophe? What exactly happened that allowed everything to be destroyed? Be interesting to research this. Let's see. Okay, now let's look at the Myceneans. In contrast to the most peaceful Minoans, the Myceneans were warriors. They built immense fortresses on hills for their monarchies that they surrounded with large stone walls. Although the fortresses were supposed to protect the people, most of them lived outside the walls. Only the monarchs and the upper class lived within the protection of the walls. The lower class were accomplished weavers and metal workers, as well as farmers growing crops and tending animals. They were famous for their beautiful textiles and weapons made of metal. Okay, so here I think it's important that we declare that the Minoans were peaceful and the Mycenaeans were warriors. And they built fortresses for their monarchies. And I think that's important because he talks about that the walls that they built, these fortresses, only the monarchs and the upper class lived within the protection of these walls. So if you were not a monarch or an upper class, good luck. Let's see, the lower class were accomplished weavers, metal workers, as well as farmers and tended animals. Okay. All right. As did Egypt in the past, the Minoans and the Mycenaeans built huge structures for their royalty. The Mycenaean fortresses housed tombs as the Egyptian pyramids did. Minoan society, similar to Mesopotamia, was less centrally governed than were Egypt and Mycenae. Both China and Mycenae built large walls for protection. Okay, so I think this is interesting because here in this paragraph, the author compares Minoans to ancient Mesopotamia. And then he compares the Mycenaeans to Egyptian or Egypt. Okay, so the Mycenaeans built structures. Well, they both did. They both built structures for their royalty. But the Mycenaean fortress housed tombs like the Egyptians. Okay, here both China and Mycenae built large walls for protection. And hopefully, we'll be learning about ancient China before the end of the year. Okay, last paragraph. The civilizations that populated ancient Greece lived near large bodies of water that facilitated trade with other nations. The region's 3 seas included the Mediterranean Sea, the Ionian Sea, and the Aegean Sea. Whichever civilization controlled the sea also had dominion over the trade routes. There are no clear records as to why the Minoans and the Mycenaeans disappeared, but along with their demise came the end of the Bronze Age of civilization. Okay, so then the question would be, what is the next age era that's going to come up? Okay, let's go ahead and highlight, let's see. So they've lived near large bodies of water, which makes sense because if we look on a map, Greece is near a large body of water, right? So the region's 3 seas. So Greece is kind of like a peninsula. So it has like 3 different seas around it. And peninsulas tend to do that because it's like this like line of island, I guess you could say, kind of. But it's not an island because it is attached. Okay, let's see. The Mediterranean Sea. I lost my place. Sorry, guys. Mediterranean Sea, the Ionian Sea, and the Aegean Sea. Aegean Sea? Aegean? Not sure how to pronounce that. Okay, so it allowed them to have dominion over the trade routes. So whoever controlled the sea controlled the trade. And then we don't know why they disappeared, but because they disappeared, it ended the Bronze Age of civilization. So I don't know, just so interesting. I wish there was more information about why they disappeared, or like what we talked about up here with the Minoans. Um, like what was the catastrophe that happened about 1400 BC? I don't know, I just feel like more research needs to be done about the Minoan society and the Mycenean society. Okay, let's look over our questions. Which ancient group of people were considered warriors? How did they protect the monarchs and upper class? Okay, so was it the Minoans or was it the Myceneans? Which one were considered warriors? And then, after you write down which one was considered warriors, how did they protect the monarchs and the upper class? What did they build? So if we go back up, we highlighted it, if you guys remember, the Myceneans were warriors and they built large stone walls to protect their monarchs and upper class. So there you go. Okay, number 2, compare and contrast the Minoan and Mycenaean civilizations with Egyptian society. Okay, so that is right here. In this paragraph, it talks about how it is similar, but also different from the Egyptian society that we've learned about. And then just think about the Egyptian civilization that we had studied back in December, November and December. We learned about ancient Mesopotamia and ancient Egypt. So how are they similar? How are they different? And the last question, what were the jobs of the lower class Mycenaeans? What were the Myceneans famous for? Okay, so let's go back up to our Mycenean paragraph, which is right here. And it says right here, they were famous for their beautiful textiles and weapons made of metal. But I have forgotten what the first question was, so let me go back. What were the jobs of the lower class? Okay, lower class Myceneans. Let's see. Minoans. Oops, Mycenean. I went to the wrong paragraph. There we go. Lower classes. What were they known for? And we highlighted it right here. Okay, so just answer those 3 questions and then upload for your work completion for today. If you have any questions, I will see you guys at office hours. Bye.